Lebanon's president affirmed that the cause of the explosion in the port of Beirut has not been determined yet. Mexican health authorities reported a surge in COVID-19 cases and deaths in the last 24 hours. Africa has over 1 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, but global health experts say that the true toll is likely several times higher. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, I'm Laura Palmero. On Friday, Lebanon's President Michael Aoun said that the cause of the explosion in the port of Beirut has not been determined yet, and that the involvement of external agents cannot be ruled out. Aoun said that the proof is being conducted to answer three main questions. First, the explosive materials entered to the country and how was it stored. Second, whether the explosion was the result of negligence or an accident. And third, the possibility of outside interference through rocket, bomb or other acts. So far, there has been no one injured, 56 dead and more than 5,000 injured.
Oh my fucking God.
In Lebanon, rescuers of the Russian Emergencies Ministry found the 3 dead bodies as they worked to clear the debris in the port of Beirut. Over 100 rescuers of the Special Rescue Unit of the Russian Emergency Ministry and 6 pieces of equipment have been deployed. On Thursday, the Russian team set up a mobile hospital which treats patients on ambulatory basis, providing assistance on the spot.
The rescue and other urgent works have entered an active phase. The work of the St. Trospas Special Rescue Unit of Russian Emergency Ministry was organized on the spot. The work is organized in 3 shifts, 20 people working in each shift. We actively use unmanned aerial systems and canine units. Yesterday, we removed 3 dead bodies from the rubble. Today, work continues from 5 a.m. Patients are still being received at the mobile hospital. The hospital is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Today, about 20 to 25 people are waiting for treatment on an ambulatory basis.
Italy's foreign minister pledges an international response to help the Lebanese people recover from the devastating effects of the explosion that occurred on Tuesday.
We stand beside the Lebanese people, and we will work in the coming days to give them the greatest possible support. For the moment, we have sent firefighters, soldiers, specialists, and 8 tons of medical aid, in addition to specialized teams. What I mean is that there will certainly be an international response, and I am happy that countries like France are on the front line to help Lebanon. We will give all our support to the Lebanese government, to the Lebanese people who were already living through a difficult time, politically and economically.
Governments of the world stand in solidarity with Lebanon. The president of Algeria announced this Friday a humanitarian aid shipment, this time to the Arab nation. The humanitarian aid is comprised of a ship carrying construction materials to assist in the reconstruction of Beirut, 4 aircrafts, 1 transporting medical, surgical, and civil defense personnel, a second loaded with medical and pharmaceutical supplies, a third loaded with food, and 4th with tents and blankets. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune confirmed that aid shipment after a telephone conversation with his Lebanese counterpart on Wednesday. The Algerian Red Crescent Society has prepared aid packages for Lebanon following the deadly explosion that rocked its capital. Over 200 tons of mainly food products are to be sent to the disaster-stricken city of Beirut. According to statements, the organization intends to send further humanitarian aid shipments every day. Several countries and international organizations have joined the efforts to assist Lebanon, sending food and medical aid, as well as support personnel.
The President of the Republic has decided to send aid to the Lebanese people. 200 tons of food products are being sent. The Ministry of Trade collected the aid, and the Algerian Red Crescent is supervising the operation. A shipment will be sent every day through the military airport of Bufari until other operations can be set up.
In Brazil, the Christ of the Redeemer statue of Rio de Janeiro was led with the Lebanese flag as a sign of solidarity. The statue of Jesus of Nazareth, located in the National Park of Tijuca, honored the 154 dead and more than 5,000 injured in the explosion in Beirut. Members of the Lebanese community gathered under the monument with local religious leaders.
Almost half of the city was destroyed by that horrible accident. And we came here to support the Lebanese people, together with the Lebanese community here in Rio de Janeiro, and show that all Lebanese in Brazil, and mainly in Rio de Janeiro and all over the world, stand with Lebanon.
In Afghanistan, a three-day gathering of thousands of prominent Afghans has begun in Kabul with the purpose to decide whether to release about 400 Taliban prisoners, including many involved in brutal attacks that killed a group of Afghans and foreigners. The prisoners' fate is a crucial issue in determining when peace talks between the Taliban and the Kabul government might begin, as both sides committed to exchange prisoners before the talks. So far, Kabul has released almost 5,000 Taliban inmates. However, authorities have backed the freeing a final 400 or so demanded by the Taliban. According to an official list of the Taliban prisoners, many of the inmates are accused of serious offenses, with more than 150 of them at death row. I will be right back after this short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday, Mexican health authorities reported a surge in COVID-19 cases and deaths. Mexico has confirmed more than 460,000 COVID-19 cases and over 50,000 fatalities. Mexico's Undersecretary of Health, Hugo López-Gatell, said that over 6,500 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours, as well as 819 deaths. The President of Mexico stated that the nation has access to COVID-19 vaccine. In Guyana, 19 ministers were sworn to the administration of President Irfan Ali. Among them are some veterans who have served in previous administrations. The new cabinet was sworn in at Arthur Sean Conference Center before a sizable crowd of their relatives and friends, members of the diplomatic corps, and heads of the joint services. Veterans like Clement Rohi, Indra Chandrapal, and Dr. Jennifer Westford, who all served in previous administrations as ministers, were not given positions and were not in the event, while those returning include Priya Manish Khan, Rabe Samben, Bishop Juanet Hill, and Pauline Sukai.
I expect that this team will be results-oriented, that this team will work in an efficient and transparent manner. The multifaceted nature of the skill sets that comprise the team is what I believe Guyana requires in ensuring we fulfill the aspirations of all the people of this country.
Promising to be a field minister who will be accessible to farmers countrywide, newly appointed Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa says that his government will pursue its manifesto promise of reopening sugar states and perform an assessment on the sugar sector. Mustafa affirmed he will not be a minister behind the desk because agriculture is done in the land, not in an office. His comments can be seen as an indirect swipe at his predecessor, who faced criticism for his management of the sector.
Mr. Speaker, those are some of the facts that I want to...
Former President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva demanded on Thursday to the head of the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, Rodrigo Maia, to open a process of impeachment against far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. Lula posted on Twitter what he considers an evidence for the impeachment. Those who read Piauí magazine know that Bolsonaro deemed to disintegrate the Supreme Federal Court. He thinks that Brazil is his. It is time to vote for the impeachment. The popular socialist leader is using a recent report published in the Brazilian media that says that Bolsonaro considered sending troops to close the Supreme Court, an order in which were also related military ministers. The relaunching of the agri-food project between Venezuela and Cuba is a challenge to the U.S. blockade and the defense of the two nations' sovereignty, said the Venezuelan Urban Agriculture Minister Gabriela Peña. After the signing of the joint project for food self-supply in communes and urban areas, the high official told Prensa Latina that it is a strong challenge to resume this initiative in the midst of the difficult circumstances the world is going through due to COVID-19 pandemic and Washington's escalated aggressions against both countries. Peña recalled that now, more than ever, the pioneering ideas of commanders Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez on the need to boost agricultural production to ensure the population's food supply are becoming clearer. Meanwhile, Ibrahim Infante, director of the Foundation for Training and Innovation to Support the Agrarian Revolution, CIARA, said that this project aims to develop a new culture of food production from the local communities for themselves. A power outage caused darkness across large swaths of Manhattan early Friday as tens of thousands of people in other parts of New York City were still without electricity after the tropical storm Isaias. A spokesperson for Consolidate Edison says Friday's blackout started at 5:13 a.m. in Manhattan and affected about 180,000 customers. The blackout lasted for about half an hour. Another 5,000 customers lost power in a separate blackout in Queens. The cause of Friday's outages wasn't immediately known. More than 60,000 customers in the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and Bronx were still without power Friday. The spokesperson says many of them won't have electricity until Sunday night. Photos and videos posted on social media showed few lights across Manhattan during the early morning outage. The president of Hong Kong Information Technology Federation commented on Friday on the U.S. president's sweeping but vague ban on dealings with the Chinese owners of social media apps TikTok and WeChat, saying that such move would cause the platforms to lose their global social media status. Donald Trump has ordered to ban the security grounds, a move China's government criticizes as political manipulation. The executive orders issued Thursday, one for each app, worsen the growing U.S.-Chinese conflict over technology and security. They take effect in 45 days and could ban the popular apps from the Apple and Google App Stores, which means that they will be impossible to get in the United States. Earlier, Trump threatened with a deadline on September 15 to close down TikTok in the United States unless Microsoft or any other company acquires it. TikTok, owned by ByteDance Limited with its headquarters in Beijing, is popular for its short and catchy videos. The company says it has 100 million users in the United States and hundreds of millions worldwide.
If TikTok is banned in the US, so there's no more TikTok, these kinds of video sharing social media in the state. TikTok itself is a social media that across the world, including China, Hong Kong, all around the world. If there is one piece missing, that means it's not a global social media anymore. If also like US, they also have the ban on these social media technology from China like TikTok or WeChat. We will see that this is like a technology split that finally we have to choose. Either we have to use, for example, WeChat, or we have to use WhatsApp. If we want to communicate globally with people from China and Hong Kong and US, we may have to find another solution that can work across the world. But politically, it will be getting more difficult.
Beijing accuses the United States of suppression after President Donald Trump orders sweeping restrictions against Chinese social media giants TikTok and WeChat.
The relevant companies have carried out business operations in the U.S. according to market principles, international rules, and have abided by U.S. laws and regulations. Under the pretext of national security, the U.S. frequently abuses its national power and unjustifiably suppresses non-U.S. companies. China is firmly opposed to these acts of naked hegemony. At the expense of the rights and interests of U.S. users and companies, the U.S. is putting its own selfish interests above market principles and international rules, and is carrying out arbitrary political manipulation and suppression, which will only result in its own moral decline, damage its national image, and lead to a deficit of its international trust. In the end, the U.S. will reap what it has sown.
The Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said that Canada should correct its mistake and bring bilateral relations back on track.
First of all, I want to make it clear that China is a country under the rule of law, and its judicial organs handle cases independently in strict accordance with the law. The Canadian side is well aware of China's solemn position on the Meng Wanzhou incident. The Meng Wanzhou case is a serious political case. China demands that the Canadian side immediately release Ms. Meng Wanzhou and let her return to China safely.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Africa has over 1 million confirmed cases of COVID-19, but global health experts say that true toll is likely several times higher, reflecting the gaping lack of testings of the continent's 1.3 billion people. While experts say infection tolls in wealthier nations can be significantly higher than they inform, large numbers of undetected cases are great danger for Africa, with many of the world's weakest health systems. More than 20,000 people have died of COVID-19. The World Health Organization calls a milestone a pivotal point for Africa's infections in several countries are surging.
Eat when you go to work.
We eat when we go to work, but since the first case of COVID-19 was announced, I have not worked. Life is difficult and it will only get worse. I wonder now that we have surpassed 1 million cases and infections continue to increase, what will happen when we get to 5 million? I took out a loan to buy this vehicle, but now I cannot afford to pay. If the number of new infections continue to increase, I will have to move out of the city and back to my rural home because business is bad and I don't know what to do.
Due to the health crisis that South Africa is suffering, the World Health Organization sends experts to Johannesburg to help strengthen the response to the novel coronavirus. Upon arrival, the World Health Organization emergency team was quarantined according to regulations set by African country. The United Health Emergency appointed that the expanding support to countries suffering a significant increase in COVID-19 cases. After hitting India's megacities, coronavirus infections are rising in smaller cities and poor rural states with limited healthcare infrastructure. On Friday, India's official caseload passed 2 million, while previously cities like New Delhi and Mumbai were the hotspots. Smaller cities and rural areas are now reporting sharp rises. The poor northern state of Uttar Pradesh, home for roughly as many people as France, Germany and Britain combined, has now seen the pandemic reach almost every district. The state has recorded 100,000 cases so far. Its capital, Lucknow, is reporting more than 600 new infections every day. According to experts, the official number might be inaccurate due to insufficient tests.
In UP and Bihar, it is much more uniform. Practically every one of the 75 districts of UP and many of districts of Bihar are now, they have cases, probably due to the return of the migrants that happened 7-8 weeks back. With poorer health systems, it is going to be a challenge. One of the things we have really neglected for the last 7 decades has been our public health system. The investments have been historically low, especially the primary healthcare system. And the primary healthcare system is the first responder in any outbreak, in any disaster, in any disease. And that is a significant gap in both UP, in fact, in all the northern states, barring one or two.
The World Health Organization confirmed the existence of 6 COVID-19 vaccines in phase 3. The Executive Director of the World Health Organization Health Emergency Program, Dr. Michael Ryan, said development of these prototypes has been rapid, taking into account the time it took to begin studies. Ryan also said that the United Nations Health Agency will closely follow these medical trials to verify their effectiveness so that they can be used to treat the population. The aim is to distribute 2 million doses of the vaccine equally worldwide to the end of 2021. The Belgian Crisis Center announced that the number of infections has seen an increase of 46% over the last week, signaling a beginning of a resurgence of the pandemic.
Last week, an average of 550 people were infected per day, making a total of 3,852 new cases registered in 7 days. This means that in the space of 1 week, the number of infections has increased by 46%. After a difficult period in the spring, with little social and family contact, everyone was looking forward to a carefree summer. But now we see the beginning of a resurgence of the epidemic that requires us to take action to prevent the curves from getting out of control.
The European nation has reported to date over 72,000 COVID-19 cases and 9,861 deaths. Belgium has the highest death rate in relation to its population in Europe. The United Kingdom will impose a quarantine for passengers traveling back from Belgium starting Saturday, forcing some tourists to rush back to avoid being forced to stay at home for 2 weeks. At Brussels South Station, only 3 trains back to the UK were scheduled this afternoon. COVID-19 infections are rising in Belgium, with 3,852 new cases recorded in the country in the last 7 days. This marks an increase by 46% compared to the week before, according to official numbers released this morning.
I imagine it's probably a good idea at the moment because there are a lot of cases in Belgium, so we hear. So I'm not against it. It seems sensible. I feel sorry for people who are caught out on holiday, like we almost were. But otherwise, yeah, I'm supportive.
We should be racing this weekend at Spa, but we've had to cancel our racing and come back here because we basically can't afford the quarantine period next week. We have to go to work, so we have to get back to the UK as soon as we can.
On Thursday, Mauritius announced that oil was leaking from a bulk carrier that had run aground in the southeast of the island, sparking fears among ecologists of an environmental disaster. The vessel Panama Flag MV Wakashio belongs to a Japanese company run ground on July 25th, and its crew was evacuated safely. The grounding happened at Point Disney, which is listed under the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands of International Importance. According to local media, the ship was carrying 200 tons of diesel and 3,800 tons of bunker fuel. Government authorities said that all attempts to establish the ship had failed because of rough seas, and efforts to pump out the oil had also failed. Mauritius depends crucially on its seas and food for tourism. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Laura Palmero. Thank you for watching.